let's dive into the importance of business writing skills. So when you communicate, you shape a person's perception of who you are. Now, anybody that knows me knows I'm real quick to say a person's definition of you does not define you. That's not, that's one of my Duncan Nuggets. Where is that one? That's sitting in this corner back there. A person's definition of you does not define you. However, in the business world, in the world of work, perceptions do matter. I'm going. We're going to keep this even keel. We're going to assume that we're going to sit racism and biases, and ableism and genderism and all of that. So we're going to sit that to the side for a second. And I'm just going to say, let's assume you're getting a fair shake. All right. Even then, when you communicate, you shape a person's perception of who you are. They start making all types of judgment depending on what type of communicator you are. And a lot of people get confused and they start assuming that communication only has to do with you running your mouth, and they don't realize how much your written communication actually impacts what people are thinking of you and how they start to ascertain your level of skill and ability. Sometimes that's the only thing they see. All right. So, here's some important things to keep in mind about business writing. So number one, poor writing skills can cause people to overlook your other skills. I've seen this all the time. I can't tell you how many times when I was an executive chef and I was managing 12 restaurants, at a certain point in time, if people were sending in job applications or resumes and their stuff was jacked up, that was a good excuse for me to sit that person to the side, because sometimes I had a lot of people to go through, and I may have missed out on a couple good cooks or some good chefs. I wouldn't be surprised if I found out that somebody that I didn't hire now, or somebody didn't hire now, somebody didn't hire then, or somebody I haven't hired now to work, with my publishing company or something. I wouldn't be surprised if I missed out on some folks that had good skills. But the problem is that people tend to overlook it because of poor writing skills. So you got to be careful about that. It would be a shame for you to get overlooked for a position. All of y'all sitting here right now are smart, very bright and talented young folks, and some of y'all, y'all young folks at heart. It's a few of us on here. We young at heart, right? So and we don't want people to overlook our skills because of poor writing, things of that nature. At a certain point in time, I will say this. There's levels to everything. So I have found that I will, within reason, for example, if somebody spots an error in a PowerPoint, they may give you a pass depending on the level of your expertise or how big your reputation is. But even then, they're still looking. Okay, don't get me wrong, they're looking. But if you're brand new, and you're just getting started in your career, it's your first time meeting or first time talking to someone, they're going to make a judgment based on your writing, especially if that's the first thing they saw. So be careful about that. Poorly written communication is costly to employers and employees. I told you all, I think I mentioned this last week. They spend billions of dollars, over somewhere between $3 and $4 billion annually. That's in the private sector. State governments are spending over a quarter of $1 billion, sending people back to work on their writing skills. You will be surprised at how costly and damaging this could be to businesses. All right. So strong written communication skills can give you a competitive advantage. How does it give you a competitive advantage? Anybody in the chat, give me some answers. How would having strong communication skills, written communication skills, how can it give you a competitive advantage in the workplace or when you're trying to get a job? I'm just curious. What do y'all think? Anybody? And you can talk or type. Ability to relate. I can agree with that. So some people might judge whether or not you're really in the club, that's in the club of intelligence, right? Based on whether or not you can write correctly, or at least with some level of professionalism. It's a highly transferable skill. That is extremely true. Strong, I can't tell you. So once I started my business, I couldn't tell you how helpful it was writing menus and planning menus and writing business reports, labor reports, food costs, and things of that nature that I had to start turning in that I thought was a complete pain in the butt. and keeping the books, accounting, and all that stuff. This is all business writing stuff. And I'm gonna tell you, when I became an entrepreneur, that was some of the stuff I was the most grateful for, that I was able to bring over into my businesses after I left from being an executive chef. And so that definitely is true. I agree with that. Highly transferable. All right, you saying relatable or reliable? I got you. Yes, it could show that you're reliable because people want people that care about their work, that have a good attention to detail and things of that nature. So it makes you memorable, top of the mind. I agree with that, Dr. John. So here's the thing. People might not walk up to you and always say, oh, that's a beautiful, well-written email. That was such a well-crafted memo. I mean, like people don't run around saying stuff like that. But I guarantee you, they are noticing. What happens is you become memorable as soon as somebody sends out a jacked up email, or they start getting a couple bad memos or a jacked up resume. We always is compare and contrast. That's what we always do. And so I do the same thing. When I saw that jacked up resume, one of the first things I asked Dr. Lee when she showed me the resume, I said, what was the name of that guy who sent in the resume that you liked? Because I remembered one that we saw earlier that was outstanding. And so he stuck in my brain. I was like, oh, I remember him. All right. So I agree with that too, Dr. John. Good stuff right there. So a couple of things I wrote down are it increases your credibility. It definitely increases your credibility. People associate strong writing skills and clear writing skills with a sign of really being a sign of high intelligence and credibility. A lot of times when you have one of the reasons that a doctorate degree has such a high degree of credibility in the eyes of the public is because they know the amount, not just the amount of expertise that you had to put in, but they know your stuff is on paper somewhere. Somebody else looked at it. You had to really write your thoughts out and have them crystal clear in a succinct manner. And somebody went through and scrutinized them and decided whether or not that your argument was well presented. So it definitely increases credibility. In the world of entrepreneurship, business owners, we just had a program not too long ago that said why every business should have a book. That when you're an author, people assume that you know what you're talking about, well, right or wrong, right? Especially if you're a nonfiction author on a particular topic. The other thing is that it showcases intelligence and attention for detail, and separates the best from the rest, and it helps you build an impressive online presence. Never overlook that. People will start going to your LinkedIn page. You all already know this. They will start looking, and when we can see things online, it just helps you have a real strong online presence. And some of y'all in the future will have your own websites and things of that nature. Just keep in mind, when people land on your website, they're looking at that. All the bells and whistles and how fancy it is, I tell people all the time, it's not what they care about. The main thing people care about is, does the website work? Number one, does it actually work? Does it function? Is it easy to use? And the other thing is, can I find stuff easy? Like, is the information here? Is it clear? Can I actually see what's being said? And is what being said, is that actually for me? All right. So just keep that in mind.